Thank you, Rabbi Nisanyan, for your very kind introduction. I'm actually also a descendant from Avraham Avinu. On Sarah's side, by the way. Sarah. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to share with you this evening on the all-important subject of the 10 Commandments of relationships. Be'ezrat Hashem, any inspiration from this evening should be Le'iloi Nishmat Netzer ben Avram v'Sarah and Yair Netzer ben Avram v'Tzipora. Amen. There aren't really 10 specific commandments about relationships. There are really 5. Because in the Aseret HaDibrot, in the 10 commandments of the Torah, you'll find... Sorry, is this good? Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, okay. You'll find that the last 5 talk about bin Adam lechavero, between man and man, relationships. You can argue that the last one, number 5, on the first half is kibud av v'em, so that's also relationships. So you might want to say it's really 6 out of 10. But it's interesting, one of the commentators, the Mabit, has a very interesting insight, and that's the following. When Moshe Rabbeinu came down Har Sinai, he was holding 2 cubits. They weren't tablets that had just faces, they were cubes of 1 amma cube, 1 amma high, wide and deep. And on each one was written 5 of the 10 commandments. So the first 5 had Anochi Hashem Elokecha Asher tziticha me'eretz Mitzrayim, Lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. And each one of them is very short or very long. Which would you say? They're quite long. On the other cube, Lo tirtzach, don't murder. Lo tinaf, don't commit forbidden relationships. Lo tignov, don't kidnap. Long or short? Very short. Let me ask you, when Moshe Rabbeinu was walking down Har Sinai, which of the 2 came into view first in the eyes of Bnei Israel, in the eyes of the Jewish people? Which of the 2 were they able to identify and read first? The second one. The print was much larger. The first one, that was a small print. Many of our commentators claim that if you had to put one against the other, Bein Adam lechavero, Bein Adam lemakom, take all the mitzvot, all the instructions which pertain to my relationship with my Creator, and put them on one side. Take the instructions that pertain to myself and how I get along with other people. Ahavta recha kamocha, to love other people. B'tzedek tishpot amitecha, to control my mind as to how I judge you, interpret your behavior favorably. Onat dvarim, how I tell myself and then what words come out of my mouth when I speak sarcasm or put you down or use sharp words. If you had to put the 2 as lists and ask God, Ribbon Shel Olam, Master of the Universe, which is a greater violation in your eyes? When a Jew hurts another Jew, when a Jew goes against a mitzvah, ben adam lechavero, between himself and another person, or are you more upset when we violate a mitzvah against you directly, ben adam lemakom? What would you say is his answer? Ben adam lechavero. Why? What's the reasoning that God is more upset? It's a greater violation. It's a more severe violation to go against hurting another person versus against God himself. What's the proof? What's the rationale?
The father wants his children to get along.
A father wants his children to get along. He has the most nahat, the most pleasure when his children get along, even if they don't get along very well with him, but they get along very well with each other. That gives him a tremendous amount of nahat. Excellent answer. Any other answers for those still awake? So the Vilna Gaon offers a very simple answer. When a person goes against God, that's one violation. When a person goes against man, it's 2 violations. Because who commanded him not to do that? To not say lashon hara, to not have sina bilibecha, lo tisna et achicha bilvavecha, not to harbor, to hold on to hatred, anger, resentment, bitterness against another person. Oh, so every single time I violate a mitzvah ben adam lechavero, between myself and another person, I'm actually in a double violation. So that's one of the reasonings behind the severity. And the lady over there quoted Mesilat Yesharim, which claims that when God looks at us and he sees one particular child that's trying to make shalom and take care of his brothers and sisters more than the others, who do you think the father favors the most out of all the kids? The one who calls home? Tell him I'm not available, I'll call back later. Who does the father favor the most? The child who calls home the most times? Who's there for his father, his mother? Or the one who's constantly looking out for his brothers and sisters' needs? So, most of us, many of us in this room are parents. The greatest nachat, the greatest pleasure, sense of fulfillment that we have is when our own children get along with each other, despite the differences. So, 10 commandments of relationships. I'm going to go through 10. They're not really 10, but we've pulled out that as it's a nice title. Commandment number 1, thou shalt remember the purpose of relationships. What is the purpose, ben adam lechavero? What is the purpose of all the mitzvot which instruct me how to get along with other people? All the halachot in nezikin, the laws of damages, is all about respecting other people's property, their body, their nechasim, their belongings, and the consequences for harming physically someone else. There's even a concept of hezek riyah, that I'm not allowed to build. There are building codes in the Mishnayot in Bava Batra. How close am I allowed to build a building next to my neighbor or to put up a hut? Because it might be hezek riyah, it might be disturbing, harming his sight. He's not enjoying when he looks out the window and he sees my house right in front of him. Interesting. So the question is, what is the purpose? What's in God's mind when he commands us, instructs us with all the mitzvot that pertain to my sensitivity to another person? What's the underlying purpose? Any suggestions? For those still awake. There are no wrong answers. Yes, ma'am?
To learn how to relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Okay, if each person is Tselem Elokim, is really creating God's image, so in a certain sense I'm learning how to relate to my Creator. I'll be sensitive to my Creator. Excellent. Any other suggestions? Yes, ma'am?
Maybe also that we teach other people how to treat other people.
So by default, we're being role models. Okay, so by being an example, we're helping spread and persuade others to follow that example. And in that way to emulate our Creator and to emulate our own role modeling. Excellent. Any other suggestions? To define oneself. To define oneself. Oh, to refine oneself. Excellent. I'm really here to fix who? Who am I here to fix? Who am I here to refine? Am I here to refine my wife? My husband? My children? To change my neighbor? No, I'm here to change me. I'm here to fix me. Now, how am I going to do that? How can I fix me? How can I refine myself? When the neshama, when the soul entered the body at conception, God made it forced it into a shavua, forced it to make an oath. An oath is slightly more severe than a regular promise. Because the neshama, the soul, refused to enter the body. Why? So I don't know if I'm going to come out as pure as you're putting me in. I don't want to take a chance. I'd rather stay where I came from. I'm not going to make any mistakes over there. You put me in a body, how do I know I'm going to come out okay? The Talmud actually favors this. There's a 2.5 year discussion between Shammai and Hillel. the Gemara in Eruvin, page 12, I think, or 12, page 13, they discussed for 2.5 years, Mutav shenivra Adam or Mutav shelo nivra Adam. Would it have been better for man to have been created or not have been created? Well, it's a bit of a funny discussion, especially to last for 2.5 years, with such giants, such great minds, and yet it was a serious discussion. And the question begs, well, why are you even discussing it? God obviously has made his veto, and what did he decide? He decided to create man. So why are you arguing? God obviously considers it better to create man. So why are you even arguing the case? And guess what? They both concluded in the end. Mutav shelo nivra. It would have been better had God not created man. Why? What's the reasoning? Tosafot offers over there. Because out of all the mitzvot and averot, all the correct things to do and incorrect things to avoid, the likelihood of leaving this world with a clean record is very, very slim. And therefore, it would have been better had we not come here in the first place. So they said, but now that God obviously didn't agree with us and decided we should be created, it's somehow worthwhile even to come down here, even if we just do one mitzvah. Even if we just do one mitzvah, it's still worth it. So at least let us refine ourselves. Mishmashmesh b'ma'asav. Let's at least look at ourselves and fix mistakes. So I'm here to fix me. The soul refused to enter the body until God made it swear, Tiyeh tzaddik. Become a righteous individual. Spend life becoming righteous. And so God, in his sense of humor, decided to create 3 arenas where you and I are forced to look at ourselves. Marriage, raising children, and the workplace. We are forced to look at ourselves. And if I keep looking at other people, blaming others, telling others what they have to do to improve themselves, who am I not focusing on? Myself. Who am I constantly saying has to change? Not me. Oh, very interesting. God said this is not really God, but there are 3 rings in life. There's the engagement ring, there's the wedding ring, and then there's suffering. Of course they're not related. It's just a joke. But the purpose of coming into this world and having to deal with a husband, with a wife, with a child, with a mother-in-law. So just swallowing. I have a friend, last Shabbat, he was going for a walk in the park, Viola Park in Monsey with his wife. And then out from the hedges, 6 yobos, 6 skinheads jumped on top of his mother-in-law and started beating her up. So his wife looked at him and said, "Aren't you going to help?" He says, "No, I think 6 is people enough." The purpose of having to be put into a world and deal with different and difficult... Some of the mothers here are not laughing at that one, I'm sorry. I'll get at the husbands in a minute. The reason why God put us into this world is in order that relationships offer the opportunity to define and refine ourselves. Who am I? And the answer to that question has much to do with how do I relate to other people? And how I refine myself becoming more respectful, more listening, empathic, compassionate, understanding, giving, generous, forgiving. That's how we are refining ourselves. So God created relationships. And so commandment number 1 is, remember why God created relationships. It's really for me to refine myself. For me to become a role model. For me to emulate my Creator. Commandment number 2, thou shalt learn 1 lesson about thyself from each relationship. I'm not here to change you. Oh my gosh. You know what, let me ask you an honest question. How many people do you know in your life who successfully changed their spouse by trying to change them? I'll make the question much easier. How many people do you know in world history that succeeded in changing someone else by trying to change them? When we try to change someone, especially if someone very close to us, are they very endearing? Oh, this is so wonderful. I'm so glad you're telling me everything you don't like about me. You know what I've always looked forward to in a relationship is that I'll grow from all the criticism that you'll give me. I'll be able to learn and change myself. How many people, you'll call Hatzalah, how many people respond that way? No one. We're not endeared to criticism, no matter how nicely it's packaged. We are unendeared. We resist. And frequently, if I do criticize you, you might pull out your list of my crimes against you. You might have a better memory than I do. And now we're really spiraling downwards. So number 2, I'm really here to learn about myself from each relationship. What can I learn about me when I'm in an encounter with this child? How listening, understanding am I? Is it possible that I judge my child from the outside? The report card, the tests, the grades, instead of asking a very intelligent question. Son, you said you failed the subject. Do you need help? Are you having difficulty with the teacher? Are you being teased by classmates? True story. First year, kid in the first week of that year a joke was made by another kid against him, and the teacher laughed. And that gave license to the rest of the class to tease him for the rest of the year. Now, he enjoyed math until this year. Now he hated it. It wasn't the math he hated. He was just angry at the teacher. So when he's failing the subject, is it possible that I, as a parent, am possibly the only advocate for my child? Who else is really looking out for them? If I'm going to judge my child by the report card, the grades, is it possible that I'm not willing to intelligently look beneath the surface and ask, what does this reflect? So here's my son, walks in crying. Son, what's the matter? Dad, what's the matter? I failed chemistry. You know, son, how many times I've told you, you've got to be positive in life. Dad, I'm positive. I failed chemistry. Okay, what did you get, son? 26 out of 100? That's 8 levels below pathetic. Now, if I'm not willing to explore, what does 26 out of 100 reflect? If it reflects an earnest and serious effort on his part, that's an A. Son, I think you scored an A. You really put your best. That was your best, and that's your best. That's an A. We've still got to figure out how to get you on the pass mark in the class. But first of all, let's figure out if that really is your best effort. That's an A. Then we can work on what's the difference between your best and the average in the class. Is it the teacher doesn't explain well? Or you miss school? True story. Kid missed school 3 weeks from scarlet fever. No wonder he fell behind. How will I be sensitive to this child? It's not about the kid. God put this kid in my life to help refine me, to help me figure out myself. How sensitive am I willing to be with this person? Sandra calls Motzei Shabbat. The second Shabbat goes out to her brother, Chaim. Chaim! Now, unfortunately, Sandra's not married yet, and she's very, very attached to her cat. And she went to a seminar on a weekend, and she left her cat with Chaim, her brother, and she's worrying about Pussy the whole weekend. So the second Shabbat goes out. Hello. Chaim, how's Pussy? Dead. Chaim, you're not serious. I said dead. Oh, Chaim, you're so cold and ruthless. What should I have said? Well, you could have broken the news slowly. You could have said, Pussy jumped out on the roof, and then you called the fire brigade, but before they arrived, he jumped off and died. Oh, Chaim is so cold. Anyway, Chaim, how's Dad? Long pause. He's on the roof. I have to learn to be sensitive in how I speak to everybody in my life. The purpose of relationships is to help me become sensitive to other people. It's about changing me. It's not about changing you. I'm here to learn about myself. If I'm in the dating process, I'm here to learn about me. To walk home after the date and ask myself, what did I learn about me? And we're going to get to this in a few moments. We're going to try and understand who's the most important person entering marriage, me or my spouse? Well, we could argue, of course it's my spouse. But I have a different angle why the most important person entering the marriage is not my spouse. Maybe I have to treat them better than myself, but they're not the most important person, and I'll explain in a few moments why. We'll get there. I have to learn about how did I respond to my interpretation of his or her lack of generosity or sensitivity at the coffee table. How I respond to their lack of interest in my interests. How am I responding to this date? Am I fixated on looks, shape of body, financial status, zip code? Or am I earnestly, seriously looking for and finding the virtues that exist in this person's personality, the qualities in their character that are the long-term value of any relationship? It's all about me learning about myself. Let's move to number 3. Thou shalt love your relationships. I have a mitzvah, a commandment, an instruction in the Torah, ve'ahavta recha kamocha, to love others like I love myself. Whether it's in the dating process, whether it's in marriage, whether it's my kids, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, my extended family, my siblings, my grandparents. I have a mitzvah to love other people. Now here's where it gets interesting. What's the word for friend in Hebrew? Chaver. Chaver is an accurate statement of friend, because the lashon, the language of chaver, is chibur. Lechaber means to join together. But God doesn't say, love your chaver, like yourself. He says, ve'ahavta l'reacha. And what is the 2-letter root of reacha? Ra. What does ra mean? Bad. Oh. Isn't that strange? Why does God, when asking us to love other people, choose the language of reacha, where the 2-letter root of friend, neighbor, is ra? And ra means bad, negative. What's the lesson? So Rabbeinu Yonah, I think it's in Shar Gimel of Sharei Teshuvah, has a very interesting insight. What is God saying to me? Ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest with ourselves. For those of us who have had the privilege of having a friend in our lives, and I'm sure that's all of us, is that friend, for me to have a criteria for having a friend, does it mean someone who's always good to me, never makes a mistake in the relationship? If my criteria for having a good friend is someone who never makes any mistakes, doesn't do anything bad, never says anything bad in this relationship, how long will I be looking for a friend? Forever. If my criteria for a spouse is someone who never makes a mistake in this relationship, is never insensitive, always puts me first, is always thinking of me, gives me total attention, how long will I be looking for a perfect spouse? Forever! So comes along Rabbeinu Yonah and says, there's no such person as a perfect friend. And what God is saying is that I can't just love another person because of what I love about them. Got to take the whole package. Enjoy what's not so great as well. That's why Rabbeinu Yonah tells us in Pirkei Avot, where it says, in Perek Aleph, I think Mishnah Vav, V'havidan et kol ha'adam, l'chavskut. Judge the entire person on the side of favor, of merit. Why? Kol ha'adam, the entire person. Because if I'm only going to get upset with you because of what I don't like, then I at least have to be consistent with my logic and be grateful and appreciative and admire you for what I do like. And so I can't just take one thing that I don't like and then really be upset with you without taking the whole person and then keeping inventory of all the good that's in your personality, in your character. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha tells me I have a mitzvah to look for the reasons that will cause me to love you. Love is not an emotion. Love is not an emotion. Love is a science, and I can prove it to you. God has no right to command us to love if it's an emotion, because either I feel it or I don't. And right now I may not feel love for you at all. So how can God command us to love another person if we don't like them? How can he command us to love him? Someone just came out of the camps, Auschwitz, Treblinka, and it really doesn't love God right now. So how can God command love? And the answer is, God's not commanding love as an emotion. He's commanding that I look for the reasons, the virtues, the qualities in that person or in God himself that will cause me to feel love to that person. And then that becomes the emotion we call love. Love is a scientific formula where we are commanded, instructed to find the good qualities, virtues that already exist in my Creator, in my spouse, in my friend. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha means to even accept what's not so good and love them anyway, because that's how God is with us. In the words of the Baal Shem Tov, V'ahavta l'recha kamocha, if you read the words the way they're written, it really reads like this: V'ahavta, and you shall love, re'acha, the bad that happens in your life. Why? Why? Because kamocha, like I really am, ani Hashem. That's the end of the verse. Ani Hashem. I am a God of love. But really, if I were to get what I really deserve, God would come down much harder on me. So if I would realize that whatever I have gone through is actually less than what I deserve, then I would be actually in love with the bad that happens to me. The most extreme example of this is a man who's walking out of the court, going to jail for 10 years. And he is so happy. He's dancing. He's dancing. And the reporter says, "Are you out of your mind? You just got 10 years in prison. Why are you dancing? Why are you so happy?" He says, "You don't understand. I have been convicted on 18 charges of first-degree murder. I should be getting 18 life sentences. And all I got is 10 years in prison. I am so happy." V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Love even the bad that is in my life. That's a deeper meaning. But let's move on. Number 4. Thou shalt ask domino questions in one's relationships. What's domino questions mean? If you are going on a date, let me ask you, what type of question would you love the other person to ask you? Think about it. What kind of question would you be so happy to hear them ask about you? What's your hobby? What do you enjoy doing, especially when you don't have to be at work? What's your pleasure in life? Just that question is already homing in on something that they obviously have a passion about. And when they answer that question, they might give you a one-word answer: soccer, or name of a sport, or art, or whatever it is. And then use that as a domino to ask another question. Oh, what do you enjoy about that? What do you think is going to happen? They'll close up or become a little bit more descriptive. And what happens if you're not just reading and what else do you enjoy about that? But what happens if you say, "That is fascinating. Wow. So help me to understand that better. What are the specific qualities that you enjoy about that particular item?" What's going to happen? They're going to enjoy talking about what they love the most. Does this make sense? We love talking about the items we love the most. So even if you don't like this person, you're not going to go on another date. But what we're bringing out over here is ask domino questions because we all crave the exact same thing. We are wired to crave, not just want and like, crave the same thing. Appreciation. And once you have figured out on your own, you got it out of me a little bit, what is it that I like the most, and you are showing appreciation, fascination, interest, curiosity, and you're asking more, and it's not just technically you're asking, you are fascinated, even if that's not what you agree with, even if that's not what you like, but you are taking a sincere interest in what I like, what's going to happen? Am I going to enjoy this date? Absolutely. There's no secrets about it. People love to be appreciated for what they like and are good at and enjoy, or their dreams, their fascinations, their hobbies. And that's how we can help another person feel good about themselves, feeling appreciated. Even if it's something that doesn't agree with our value system, it's still a way to sincerely take interest in another person, because that's how we are. It's no different for another person. There's more to say on this. I'm moving to number 5, because this is really big. Thou shalt not expect a perfect match in any relationship. Now, I have to admit, I met the perfect husband a week ago. I was in the locker room after playing soccer, and suddenly the cell phone went, and a guy picks it off the bench and says, "Hello? Oh, darling, so glad you picked up this. I'm in the mall. I just saw this gorgeous leather jacket. It's on sale for $1,000. What do you say?" He's looking at us like, oh my gosh, he's on speakerphone. Is he going to treat his wife like $1,000 on sale? Get it. Oh, darling, thank you so much. Listen, before you put the phone down, on the way to the mall, I passed the Mercedes dealership. Oh my gosh, you know, the CLR 500 is on sale for $65,000. What do you say? Is it fully loaded? Yes. Get it. Oh, darling, don't put the phone down. You remember that gorgeous home we fell in love with, and they took it off the market? Oh my gosh, it's back on the market. It's been reduced to 1.3 million. What do you say? Come in an offer for 1.25. Oh, darling, thank you so much. Bye. Now, how do you think we feel looking at this man? How does he treat his wife so good? And do you know what he says to us? Whose cell phone is this? There's no perfect husband. There's no perfect spouse. They don't exist. Thou shalt not expect a perfect match in any relationship. There's no perfect child. Someone once asked me, because I gave a lecture on discipline, if I ever hit my kids. I said, never, ever hit my kids. Except in self-defense. So let's talk for a few moments about marriage. I was once in an audience, there was a gentleman, he said, I'm 63 years married. And I want you to know, marriage is not a word, it's a sentence. Never mind. So what is the secret? What is the secret to marriage? What's the secret to Shalom Bayit? And the answer is, if you want Shalom, buy it. All right, no, never mind. I see the men are not laughing at that one. Okay, fine. It's a joke, sorry. Shalom, what an interesting word. Translated as peace. Well, what is peace? God, you are the one that created the universe. And you didn't create the universe directly yourself. Instead, you created the alphabet. And with the letters, you spoke words. And those words created the universe. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam. Blessed is the one that said, and the physical universe existed. Physical reality is the result of God's will and the conduit between God's desire to create and the physical reality is speech. And what words? Of which language? Lashon HaKodesh, the perfect language. The word shalom correctly translates as peace, but if we take the word shalom and put it under the microscope and ask God, what does shalom mean? What are the ingredients? Help us understand. that shalom is not just a word. The word shalom tells us how to get there. What is the three-letter root of shalom? Shalem. What does shalem mean? Complete. By definition, how can you ever have anything that's complete? What was it before it was complete? Incomplete. There were different parts that came together and made it complete. Shalom, by definition, is when different pieces come together. And then it becomes shalem, complete. Shalom, exist in peace. So here we have the formula. Shalom is not when two people love each other for their similarities. Very interesting. Let me prove it to you. I was speaking in Kutcher's country club in Catskills. There were about 400 people in the audience, and the average age was about 107. Actually, I'm just exaggerating. There was one lady there, very astute. She was 104 years old. Someone asked her what's special about her age. She said, no peer pressure. No, but seriously, I would say the average age in the audience was about 85. There were 400 people in the audience, and I asked them, I said, I think the average age here is about 50. The ladies were very happy with that number. So I said, what's 400 times 50? So they took a vote, and we agreed 400 times 50 is 20,000. So I asked them the following question. In this room, there are 20,000 years of accumulative life experience. Interesting. 20,000 years of cumulative life experience. Let me ask you a question. People in that audience, grandparents, great-grandparents, there are people been through the First World War, Second World War. They've really seen life, death, and everything in between. And I asked them a very simple question. In your 20,000 years of accumulative life experience, please tell me, I'm offering you two options. Which of the following two options equals peace in marriage, with our kids, in relationships? Number one, option number one. How similar we are and less different. That's what makes peace. That's what makes us happy. How similar we are and less different is option number one. To our spouse, to our kids, to our mother-in-law, our father-in-law, our brother-in-law. How similar and less different. Option number two. Not how similar and not how less different, but how well we get along with the differences. How we respond to the differences. When a difference surfaces, how do we react? What comes out of us? Anger, spite, sarcasm, sharp words, comparisons. You're just like your mother! Sorry, not you personally. I didn't mean to wake you up. Sorry. And we start comparing, accusing, and blaming. Here you had an audience, a cumulative life experience of 20,000 years. Guess how many people in that mature audience said, peace in life, shalom, in marriage, with children, my co-worker, my client, my boss, my neighbors, the community is all about being similar and least different. How many said that? 0. Not one said that happiness and shalom in life depends on how similar my spouse and I become. And I can prove it to you. I'll prove it to you. I once worked with a group of singles. There were 96 singles in the room, approximately divided equally, 46 young men, 48 young women. I think that was 48. It was a Gateways in Geffen weekend, and I had the awesome task of directing a workshop called The List. What should be on your list? That was the question. So here you had young men on this side, ladies on this side, and we threw it out. What should be on your list? So I'll ask you, what should be on the list? Let's see. What should be on the list? Looking for Mr. Right, looking for Miss Right. What should be on the list? For those still awake.
Same goal in life.
Similar goals in life or same goals in life? A little louder? Religious background?
I think
Yirat Shamayim? Midot? Sorry? Kindness. Friendship. Money. Health. Zip code. Car you drive. What else? Shape of body. Labels in the wardrobe. Let's just say you've got a whole list. So I went through with these young men and women, we went through the list. Family, financial responsibility, taking care of one's health, Yirat Shamayim, Midot, kindness. And I said, you know what, let's just pretend you go on a date. Flexibility. And you've got on your Palm Pilot or some other contraption, underneath the coffee table, you've got your long list of all the things you're looking for. And you have this special little checkbox next to it, which has a rating of 0 to 10. 0 is the least, 10 is the most. And you're meeting this, let's say, young lady, and each item, as you go through your date, you recognize, you know what, she scores a 10 on this, 10 on this, 10 on this, on respect, kindness, midot, yirat shamayim, generosity, respect, flexibility, looks, chemistry. Let's just pretend for a few moments you're scoring 10, and you can't believe this. This is unbelievable. So you know what, you go on another date, and same thing. Then to do your due diligence, you call up friends, relatives, teachers who knew this person years, decades ago, and you research, and guess what they're telling you? On a scale of 0 to 10, they're giving you a 10 out of 10 rating for every item that you're asking them about. Gentlemen, would you marry this young lady, yes or no? Ladies, let's pretend you're on the other side of this coffee table, and for some strange coincidence, you have under your part of the coffee table the same list with the same rating, and you're scoring 10 out of 10 out of 10 out of 10 on everything. Can we say Mazel Tov, yes or no? So I asked, don't worry, I asked this audience, and nobody on the men's side said yes. 3 ladies on the ladies' side said yes. So I said to the men, what would be your hesitation? So one man had the courage to say, well, we have to click. So I said, okay, let's say you fixed your click. And whatever your click is, chemistry, whatever it is, add it to the list, go out another time, give them a rating, and sure enough, it's 10 out of 10. Now, will you marry this person, yes or no? What's missing?
Something is wrong with everything is perfect.
Something's wrong, can't be so real. It sounds perfect, and therefore I want someone imperfect, right? Don't worry, it was very hard for them to say Mazel Tov. Because they said, well, this is not real. I said, okay, just pretend. I'm asking you to pretend that it be real. Would you marry this person, yes or no? We're just pretending. In the ideal state, you meet someone, and you've gone on a few dates, and it's 10 out of 10. You ask lots of people, it's 10 out of 10. Would you marry, yes or no? Yes, of course you would. Now, here's the question. This is the question. Just because a person has met someone else who both agrees 10 out of 10 on everything they're looking for, family, looks, financial status, financial responsibility, take care of their health, they're both kind, respectful, empathic, giving, generous, considerate, sensitive, loyal, devoted. It's a long list. Does that equal happy marriage? Yes or no? Interesting. Why not? Why not? What changes? Because you and I have scored 10 out of 10. Does that mean that we could possibly anticipate every difference that is going to surface that 2 people could never have anticipated? I'll give you two stories. Number 1, man marries woman. He's attracted to her, amongst other reasons, because of her incredible independence. This is a young lady that was abused terribly in her childhood, never had contact with her father since the age of 13. She became a CFO of her own company, has several employees, does very well, outgoing, happy person, strong character, and he's attracted to her amongst many reasons for her independence. That she's able to stand up to incredible adversity and become something from it. 6 months into the marriage, she falls into depression. And what's the reason? Her father dies. 1 second, I don't understand. Not only did you not have a relationship with your father for 10 years, she's 23 years old, has her own company, but he abused you. So why, you didn't talk to him in 10 years and now you're depressed that he's dead? And her answer was, I don't think you understand. I didn't realize myself that in all these years, deep down, I craved that one day he would ask for forgiveness and that we'd have a healing relationship. Now that's completely never going to happen. And she fell into depression. Could he have possibly anticipated that? No way! Even if we meet the perfect match, it's not how similar and least different we are that will equal shalom, happiness, peace. It's what will come out of us when we're squeezed by a different way of dealing with a new situation. Twins are born, mazal tov! And each spouse has a totally different way of raising each one of them. And both those twins, they are not the same personality at all. One is very responsive to discipline. You just have to tell them once and they stay online. The other one, doesn't matter how many times you remind them, they will do what they want anyway. From the youngest age. And father and mother both have two different styles of how to deal with a kid that's not listening. One says, look, you're just going to be incredibly patient. The other one says, no, nip it in the bud. So my question is, what really matters? What really matters? Does the list really matter in the end? To some extent, you might argue it does. But in the reality, and here's just an honest question, those of you who are married in this audience, are you still married to the exact same person that you married? I mean, the same person, yes. But I mean, are they the same person? No! Are you the same person today as you were 2 years ago? 5 years ago? 10 years ago? Of course not. In other words, whoever you marry is not who you stay married to. Because we change. And so, commandment number 5, I'm going to have to really go through the others real fast, is who I marry is not nearly as important. I'll repeat that. Who I marry is not nearly as important as who am I entering the marriage. Because differences will come up, and when those differences come, they will squeeze me. And the purpose of God sending a different spouse to squeeze me is not to hurt me, but to see what comes out when I'm squeezed. And what will come out when I'm squeezed? Whatever's inside. So if I'm angry and bitter and resentful, I've got unbridled jealousy and I've got grudges, what's going to come out when you squeeze me? Anger, bitterness, jealousy. I'll be out of control. Whatever is inside of us, God wants me to see me. People don't shape us. Our parents don't shape us. The environment, our education does not shape us. People do not shape us. They reveal us to ourselves. Other people are here to help me reveal me to me. When tragedy strikes, what will come out of me? Will I live with bitterness, or will I learn and share with others to get through? Who do I become in this marriage is what's going to count. Not how much I convince you, persuade you to become like me or agree with me. Just doesn't happen that way. Just doesn't happen that way. The Chidushei Arim had a very acute insight. He says, why is it in the Gemara in Berachot, near the end, I think it's page 58, Ben Azai says, if you see 600,000 Jews, there's a special beracha, special blessing. What's that blessing? Baruch Hacham Harazim. Blessed is the wise one, the Creator, who's so wise, he knows all the secrets. What secrets? Razim, what secrets? That every single mind of every single person is totally different to another person's mind. And the Gemara quotes the statement, just like their minds are different, so are their faces different. Their faces are different, their minds are different. So ask the Chidush Erim, very interesting question. Did you ever go up to someone in the street, or did anyone ever come up to you in the street and says, your chin, it's not the same shape as mine. Your cheeks, I mean, they're much bigger than mine. Your nose is, why don't you have a nose like mine? How come your forehead isn't the same shape as mine? I mean, if anyone walked up to you and started making these accusations, how would you respond? Hatzalah, I think there's someone here who's really got a problem. You know, no one got... So the Chidush said something very simple. You and I see how absurd it is. I would never think, looking at your face, I would never think to go up to you or tell myself, why don't you look like me? And yet, why would I ever fall into the trap of thinking that the immeasurable universe that's contained inside your face should be anywhere close to mine? Why should you think like me? Your background's not the same. Even if we go for the same religious goals, same Yirat Shamayim and same Midot, you know what's going to count in the end? What comes out when we're squeezed. The purpose of difficult children, the purpose of a difficult spouse, difficult boss, difficult mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, friend, neighbor, leadership, community. The problems with finances are all there as props in one big play called life that God has laid out not to hurt me through squeezing me, but to squeeze out of me what's inside so I get to see who I really am. Am I refining myself? Am I emulating my Creator? Am I a role model for other people? And by having other people squeeze me, for me to see what comes out, I get a chance to make a choice. Is that who I want to continue being or change what's inside? I'm the only person that was created to change me. Marriage is deliberately designed to put two people so close up, it's like standing in front of a mirror with a magnifying glass in between. That's the purpose of marriage. And those are the words of Rabbi Victor Miller. I'm here to see myself, and you are there to help me refine myself. That's the real purpose. And when I blame and complain, accuse and compare, deny it's my fault, give excuse why it's your fault, I'm just getting out of responsibility for changing me and putting it all on someone else. The purpose of my life is not to A, accuse, B, blame, C, complain, D, deny, E, give excuses. The purpose of my life is to change me internally, become more loving, appreciative. Loving means look for the good that will cause me to feel love, because love is a science. The emotion we call love is the result of the scientific formula of finding the virtues in my Creator, the kindness in my Creator that makes me feel love for Him. See the thousands of kindnesses my spouse does for me in supporting this family, in the carpools, shopping, taking care of the children, the appointments, the small kindnesses in the home. And the more I keep inventory, and the more frequently I count the inventory, the more frequently I verbalize the inventory, the more I will feel gratitude, admiration, appreciation for you. And that will equal love. And you will feel it too. Happiness and love and shalom are not complicated. It's all the same formula. Seeing and finding the virtue that already exists. Mitziut hazivug doesn't mean searching for the right partner. Mitziut means finding. You can only find something that's already there. I am being commanded to find the good that's already in every potential person and build on that. Because if I'm looking for Miss or Mr. Perfect, I'll be looking for a long time. They don't exist. Even if the list was 10 out of 10, it's not a real list. Scrap the list. It's who am I that I should be focusing on. The Chavetz Chaim closed at this point on this very amazing story. The Chavetz Chaim, 16 years old, comes home ben Azmanim, between semesters. His mother, who had remarried, she'd lost her husband. In those days, an almana, a widow, hadn't a choice but to choose almost anybody who would be willing to support her. And she married someone well below her class, her status, someone of very coarse character. And he brought into the marriage a daughter from his previous marriage. And when he first set his eyes on his wife's son, Yisrael Meir, the famous Chavetz Chaim, he wanted that young man for his daughter. And his wife, the mother of Chavetz Chaim, was devastated. Because she knew that her son was a towering personality, even at this young age. He was a righteous individual. He was already an accomplished scholar. And if he married a family that could help support, even just for a few years, he was grooming himself for leadership. And she refused. She would not have anything of it. And he was pressuring and pressuring. The young Yisrael Meir comes home, 16 years old, sees his mother distraught about something. And he says, "Mommy, what's the matter?" She won't talk to him about it. He pushes a little further, and she breaks down, uncontrollable tears. And she tells him the whole truth, that her husband wants him for his daughter. And what was Yisrael Meir's answer? "Mommy, why are you crying? I'll marry her." And he did. And he still turned out the Chavetz Chaim. How did he do that? Because it's not who we marry that really makes the difference. Who comes out of ourselves in this marriage is what's going to really count the most. And when we are more loving, admiring, appreciative, giving, grateful, sensitive, understanding, empathic, listening, compassionate, generous, forgiving, long list, loyal, devoted, trustworthy, integral, that's when our spouse will reciprocate in kind. Because we're changing myself. And when I change me, you change in your response to a different person. But if I'm busy trying to change you, not only are you not going to change, you'll resist and you'll bring out your list of changes you want in me. And we've got the recipe for the opposite of shalom. We're not going to have differences coming together. We're going to have differences going further apart. I'll never forget, about 3 years ago, my wife and I, we were going further apart. We had so little time for each other, it was getting ridiculous. Here I am with 2.5 jobs. My wife is with carpools every day, shopping, preparing meals, appointments for the children. It was pathetic. We had no time for ourselves. So finally we said, if this is not working, we have to make a commitment. And we made a commitment to go out twice every week. Twice every week. In 3 years, never missed once. I go out Mondays, she goes out Thursdays. We have to make time for the relationship that matters the most in order that we expose ourselves to the differences in our spouse, in our kids. Just let them squeeze and let's see what comes out. And let's change if we don't like all that comes out. I'm going to close the last 3 very quickly. Number 7, thou shalt not look at Calvin Klein ads. That means don't buy what the media claims is all image, zero content, zero reality. The world of credit cards, it's all image. If I have wealth and it's all bought on debt, is that genuine wealth? If my car and my house and my wardrobe is basically on a mortgage, a second mortgage, a home equity line, and 5 to 10 or 15 revolving credit cards, is that real wealth? That's servicing debt. It's all about image. And yet we're living in a world that wants me to believe that the shape of my body, size of my home, zip code I live in, the car I drive, defines who I am. The clothes makes the man. That's what they say in America. And yet the word for clothing in Hebrew, the perfect language, is begadim. The 3-letter root of begadim is bagad, which means traitor. Why did God use the word boged, a traitor, and beged, clothing, same word? 2 different meanings? No, they're synonymous. There's a relationship. Because our clothes betray who we really are. We're not our clothes. The real us is who we refine ourselves into becoming through relationships. How much more kind, appreciative, giving, loving, understanding, generous. Number 8, thou shalt not focus on the external image of my relationships. The word for internal connection is chen. Chen means an internal connection. The words of the Stipler Hatzal, chen is a kesher she'eino nireh. It's a tie, it's a connection that you can't see. But it starts with the face. The smile we give our spouse, the smile we give our children, reflects what we're thinking inside. Because what does a smile actually say? We're happy. And if you're smiling at your spouse, what are you saying at your spouse's face? I'm happy that you exist in my life. If you're smiling at your child, you're saying, I'm happy you exist in my life. When a teacher removes a smile from their face, they're saying to the child, or at least the child might easily read, you're not happy, I exist in your life. And they start thinking, maybe I did something wrong. A child might think that, where a parent doesn't mean that at all. Just having a hard day at work. And yet our face, who does it belong to? Who does our face belong to? You will never, ever, anyone in this room, please God, should never, ever see your face in your lifetime. The most you'll ever see is a reflection of your face in a mirror, in a photograph. Oh my God, what's my face doing on the floor? You'll never see your face, ever in your lifetime. Your face, you will never see. If you'll never see your face, then who does it belong to? God created it for everybody else. Oh. Especially our spouse and our children. No matter what else is going on in our lives. Because our face reflects what we're feeling inside. And that's a kesher she'eino nireh. That's chen. Chen is an invisible connection. You can't see it on the outside. Do you want to speak a little bit louder? I don't want to. Thank you. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam she'hakol niyeh b'dvaro. Thank you. Number 9, for clarity, you might want to write this phone number down. Call 1-800-ALMIGHTY. Kave el Hashem. V'yametz libecha. Chazak v'yametz libecha v'kave el Hashem. Kave, unfortunately, the Christians translate it as hope. It doesn't mean hope. I'm not sure if we have a word for hope. I say give up hope. Give up hope. Hope is a very weak word. Kave comes from the same lashon as mikveh. When a person goes to the mikveh, do they hope to come out tahor? They know they will. They know. They expect to. Kaveh means expect. Expect is totally different than hope. Hope means, I hope to lose weight. If the chocolate doesn't speak too loud. I hope that I will really control my anger if my spouse doesn't provoke me. I hope that I will be sensitive to this child if this child doesn't really get under my skin. Hope is very passive. Expect is totally different. I expect to lose weight. I expect to be more loving. Demonstrates a higher level of commitment, of action on my own. Even if I fail, no, not even if. When I make mistakes, I'll pick myself up again and again and again. Said David HaMelech, Kaveh el Hashem. Chazek v'yametz libecha v'kaveh el Hashem. Keep expecting God to pull through, because He will in the end. Keep expecting. Don't hope. Give up hope. Expect. 1-800-ALMIGHTY is a real number. I don't mean, but speak. I've got to speak to my Creator and ask Him, Ribbono Shel Olam, you calculated this marriage. I was in a restaurant a few weeks ago with my wife. It was a young couple, I don't know, in their late 30s or whatever, still young for me. And they were sitting on another table, and the husband was staring at this Isha in the corner of the restaurant, drinking herself silly. No, the wife just couldn't take this afterwards. She said, I don't understand you. We finally put our schedules together. We go out to the restaurant. And all you do the whole evening is stare at that silly woman, drunk. What's the matter with you? And he says, I really owe you an apology and explanation. That woman is my ex-wife. We divorced about 10 years ago, and she took to drinking and hasn't stopped since. So his wife looks at her with admiration. Wow! Who could ever imagine anyone celebrating for so long? And number 10, never give up hope. Never give up hope. I say give up hope. Give up hope and replace it with expectation. The only area that you should ever give up in is the following. If you did not succeed the first time, but failed, then skydiving is not for you. But every other area, keep at it again and again and again. In the end, we shall succeed. I close, and I truly mean it. I'm not sure if you've heard this one. The Mossad Secret Service, Israeli Secret Service, need to nominate a new assassin. So they screened 1,000 candidates. And finally, after going through a battery of tests, they narrowed it down to the last 3. And they came up with a really grueling test. Who's going to be the top assassin for the Israeli secret police? So they call in, it was 3 candidates, 2 men and 1 woman. So the first man walks in and they give him a gun. And they say, you know, your wife is sitting in that room. Take this gun, go in that room, shoot and kill her. He says, are you out of your mind? I'm going to kill my wife? He says, you know what, get out of here. You obviously haven't got what it takes. So they call in the second man, give him the same instructions. Here's a gun. Your wife is sitting in that room. Take this gun, go inside, shoot and kill her. Takes the gun, goes inside the room, walks out a few seconds later. I can't do it. I'm married 23 years. I can't do it. You haven't got the metal. Get out of here. They call in the woman, and they say, you know, here's a gun. Your husband is sitting on the chair in that room. Take this gun, go inside, shoot and kill him. She takes the gun. She goes inside the room, closes the door. Bang, 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 bang. Scream, ah, silence, smash, crash, ah, scream, smash, silence. She comes out of the room with the gun in her hand and says, this silly gun was filled with blanks. I'd have beat him to death with a chair. There's no perfect marriage. We weren't put in this world to find the perfect zivug. They don't exist. We were put in this world to marry someone who is different and have children who are different. And a mother-in-law and a father-in-law and circumstances, financial, health, that's different to what we want it to be. It's not how much more good or bad that we get in this world that will make us successful in our relationships. It's how well we deal with the differences. Thank you for your patience. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Rietti.
Thank you for inviting me. I love you.
I just want to put a small note here. I thought that my successful life with my wife is because of me, but I see that basically is what I could squeeze out of my wife, all the goodness, admiration to me. And Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much for you participating in the shiur. Outside we have the table for the shidduchim for